Taylor Swift, though, we were not excited for the seventh studio album, the first one she owns, Lover, because pretty much every single up to this point we've been
Yeah.
pretty down on.
What
And
the
then
fuck?
and then I listened to it. I was like, oh, this is actually a really good Taylor Swift album. Um, and I'm really excited to talk about it because I think it's very interesting to talk about this album in terms of her strategy in putting it out, but then also to just talk about how this propels Taylor forward in her career. Reputation, we talked about it last year and we were pretty down on it.
2017. But yeah, I mean,
Years ago.
we panned that shit because it deserved that. And frankly, you can look at the charts. No one ran back those songs after the initial push. It did not make the impact that you expect from an album that's 3 times platinum.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Taylor Swift is long past the point of needing that. She still sells out international arena tours, and she traditionally sells her albums no matter how good or bad they are. So Taylor Swift is too big to fail in that sense. But Reputation is without a doubt the biggest disappointment she's had creatively. And as you said, the singles for Lover, man, me sucks. Why was that the first track? I mean, Me is the worst track on Lover, an hour-long album.
Yeah,
and it's the lead single. It just doesn't make any sense.
And then the second single, You Need to Calm Down, it's right up there. I mean, it's
queer baiting accusations too, taking advantage of Pride Month, another bad look for Taylor for sure.
And then Lover was the third single, which dropped only a week before the album.
The Archer, then Lover.
Yeah, so the Archer actually I like. And I think in context of the album, it comes across a lot better. But yeah, it's interesting that she chose those songs, and maybe it's because she felt like those would be the ones that were most poppy and radio friendly. Because I do think, I think a lot of these songs are certainly pop and can be played on the radio, but something like Cornelia Street, which is probably my favorite song from this album. I don't know if that fits that like earworm algorithm the same way something like Me does, just because of the like hoo hoo hoo, like that sort of thing is what gets caught in your head and they just play that over and over. But Cornelia Street is actually like a thoughtful song that harkens back to who Taylor Swift was when she wrote Fearless or Speak Now. It just feels it has so much more depth than the singles in a lot of ways.
Right. And if you wanted something pop and radio friendly, why not? Of course. Why didn't you go with I Think He Knows?
Yeah.
That's a bop. That song's great. And frankly, when I first listened to this, when the beat first comes in for the first introduction of the chorus, I get this weird Sam Hunt Body Like a Backrobe production vibe just for a split second. I'm still trying to place it, but that's what it brought me to. But yeah, I think that song's a banger. She could have went with that. She could have went Paper Rings. I think there's some obvious radio friendly songs, and those are not the most lyrical choices on this album. But I think there's a better introduction to introduce to radio, and I'm sure those are forthcoming singles. She's already released 4 and the album just came out. But yeah, I think you kind of nailed it. Just it's a return to form in the songwriting sense for Taylor Swift, something that was severely lacking on Reputation, because she's finally gotten over, or at least progressed past, the whole feud with Kanye and Kim and then the subsequent public fallout with that. And she's less about victimizing herself and kind of getting back to what Taylor Swift is good for and why she's so famous and popular, where she's able to articulate her emotions and her feelings in a compelling way that's really accessible to mass audience, but also really speaks to people.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's still misses on here, and there's certainly still bloat on this album. It's like Red, and Red's just an album with banger after banger, but also has album cuts that people will cry to and sing every word to when she performs them. So yeah, it's quite the comeback, just because, and again, critical comeback, not commercial comeback. But I mean, a few months ago, people were talking about, especially once Me came out, like, is Taylor Swift done? Old Town Road
Yeah.
stopped Me and You Need to Come Down from getting number one, and Billie Eilish is the new sound of pop. Can Taylor Swift and Katy Perry keep up? And Taylor Swift got back to the basics on this, and
Mhm.
it worked.
Interesting you brought up Red, because this feels very much like a continuation or a partner in terms of her albums with Red, especially because when she dropped the album, she wrote a line like, "I used to think love was red, but it's actually like golden, like the daylight," or something like that. I think,
Yes.
kind of mentioning a song from her tracks. You also mentioned uh, the the way that like, when is Taylor Swift at her best? And in reading a review by Anna Gaka on Pitchfork about it, I thought she made a really, really good point about her songwriting, and that's that Swift seems to be at her most uh, on her A game when she is exploring her feelings and trying to explain them rather than trying to teach us something. Like something like Me, where she's trying to like tell everybody like, hey, like there's only one of you, like don't let people get you down. That's when we find her very grating. I think that was the thing about Reputation a lot of the time, was it felt like a lot like she was saying, I've been through these things and this is like how you deal with it or what it's
I
like.
did something bad.
Right. But then you look at the songs on here that are probably the best. I already mentioned Cornelia Street. A song like Soon You'll Get Better, which, even though that's not maybe an upbeat song that will get a ton of radio play, is a really moving and emotive song. And you bring in the fucking Dixie Chicks to sing background for you, and it sounds
Flex.
amazing. Yeah, it's when she is exploring what's going on for her or things that have happened to her, I do think Swift does a better job. Taylor does a better job of making songs people want to hear and that don't grate on you so much. It's funny because I think we've mentioned this was 16, 18 tracks, something like that.
Yep.
18 tracks. I think we've mentioned like half of them as songs that we've liked in some way.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the opener?
I think that's a good opener. It's a good intro. I forgot that you existed. Again, that just, you hear that for the first time and immediately brings you back to, again, that textbook Taylor, where I think she kind of has acknowledged, a lot of reviews are pointing this out, she's acknowledged, perhaps to herself or at least publicly now, that confrontation does fuel her lyrical content. Usually it was relationship and breakup focused, then it became public shaming, Reputation. Now we're back to before. And I mean, that's just going to be like an anthem to tons of people, men and women. I think Cruel Summer right after that, really, you're like, oh wait, wow, this, like, here's an earwormy song. Here's a song with radio potential right away, and you just immediately lose that distaste that you might have had from those singles.
The bridge in Cruel Summer leading up to like the crescendo at the end is like, that's some of the best Taylor Swift like songwriting and like music construction. And shout out to Jack Antonoff, who was producing a lot of this, and
he's all over this.
I think he adds a lot. It seems like Frank Dukes also was all over this album in production. I wanted to get your feelings on two more songs. The Man. How did you feel about Taylor's takedown of misogyny?
Yeah, so listening to it, I couldn't help but feel like this was like trying to put a bow specifically on the Kanye stuff. And in that lens, I think it really fails and it just doesn't hold water. And we don't have to get into that, but it does come across as a bit half-baked.
Yeah.
Where she's not really exploring anything beyond saying, well, if I was a man, this, and this. As if, and it just feels like she's trying to absolve herself of all past mistakes, because she is right. She wouldn't have been as criticized if she was a man for certain things. But that does not mean she didn't make mistakes. I just feel like she's not, it's like putting your head in the sand for a second. And if you had fine-tuned this message, it probably could have actually been like a much more profound song, but I just don't think it gets there.
Yeah, it could have used a little bit more reflection, I think. Better song about being a man. If I were a boy or the man.
No comment.
um, London Boy. This is the probably the most uh, out there song that is identifying the inspiration for this album, which seems to be Joe Alwyn.
Yeah.
Who last time we saw him, Emma Stone was emotionally dominating him throughout The Favorite.
Right. He plays dicks in movies. He's played a Nazi in
Yeah.
Operation Finale. He rapes Lucas Hedges in Boy Erased. He hasn't stood out in a movie. That was for good reason.
Yeah. How do you feel about London Boy?
I actually think it's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole, she loves the West End the way she loves New York City. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Watching rugby with the boys, if you say so. If that's really how it went down, fine.
Yeah.
I get it's just kind of like a cheery, inoffensive song,
Mm-hmm.
which is, again, if that's kind of your album fluff, that's fine because it's better than the past fluff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fine. It's fun. It's poppy. It's just gonna be what it's gonna be. I do like that. That's like I saw the Ringer talked about this a little bit, how the guys that the albums are about oftentimes will mark the Taylor Swift album, so to speak. And I had no idea that Taylor Swift was with Joe Alwyn or that they were dating or whatever. Unlike like Jake Gyllenhaal or John Mayer or Harry Styles,
John.
yeah, who have been mentioned in these other songs. This one feels like the least like placing. Like in a couple of years, I'll probably totally forget who it was about. So not too concerned about it. So where do you see Swift at now? She back?
Certainly back. Important to notice here, she did not collaborate with Max Martin at all on this. As you said, this was all Jack Antonoff, who's been very in vogue. And we've talked about his work before with Lorde and other people. Also noteworthy is that Louis Bell is all over this. Louis Bell, one of the newest super producers we have, really caught on once he started working with Post Malone a few years ago. Think he won Producer of the Year from like a Billboard Award or something, whatever it was. But he's actually interesting because he's from Quincy, Mass. He came up making songs for Mike Stud. Then he got introduced to Post Malone, and now he's like the most mainstream producer ever, makes hits for everyone. It's kind of a crazy come up. But working with someone like Louis Bell, and again, did she work with Greg Kurstin on Reputation? I don't remember, but
I can't recall.
She's using the people that are making stuff that's actually like of the moment, which I think is smart. And Max Martin is certainly still of the moment. I mean, he's all over Thank You Next, for example. But it just seems like Taylor's got her own head right again, and now she can just take advantage of the commercial force that she still is. Do I believe that she genuinely decided to finally bash the politicians she dislikes? No, I think she realized that was actually good for her brand. That's what she did. I would never say she's not calculated, but when she's managing her career the right way, like she is right now, or at least how we expect it to go from this album, she's the biggest face in pop. I mean, in one day, she had the biggest sales week of the year, being Crazy. The Jonas Brothers. It's going to go 775 to 850,000 total units first week is the projection. Of that, 650 to 700,000 are pure sales. So she's one of the few people in pop music too, that really can motivate her fans, her legion of fans, to buy a record, a physical record, or an iTunes download, and spend that $10. And as she still saw her upcoming tour. So yeah, Taylor Swift's back, and I'm just interested to see if she can keep it going or if she has too much pride and messes up again. Because again, like the man could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
So right now she's in a good spot.
Well, she's going to test that, or supposedly is going to test that, because she says she's going to re-record all of her past albums. We'll see. If she does that, I think that'll be a very interesting move. It'll be interesting to see if she puts new flourishes on any of those songs. So where does this fall for you in terms of Swift albums?
2 or 3, 2 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think Red is my favorite just because it's the most poppy, and that's why I like Taylor for. I don't really run back the deep cuts from Taylor Swift. Shocker. I think 1989, and which has my favorite Taylor Swift song, Blank Space, but I think overall has a lot of misses on the album.
Mm-hmm.
I think Red is probably safer. I think I have this too after Red. Not really a big Speak Now guy, and I don't care about Fearless or self-titled. So yeah, I think I have this too.
Yeah, I think when I'm looking here, I think I probably have this top three. I don't know the exact order, but it's Red, this, and yeah, Fearless and 1989 can jump in there. I really like 1989, especially the singles on it. Even something like Out of the Woods, which I think it's panned, I really enjoy. So, to each their own, but she has a really strong track depth, in terms of
Yeah,
the singles. It's kind of crazy. So
about to turn 30 too. She's just getting started.
we'll be talking about her a lot moving forward.